Hello there. This video is going to cover the basics of how the tornadoes work in the Corrupted Gauntlet, and it is going to establish some simple and effective ways of dealing with them. As a disclaimer, this video is not going to act as a full guide, nor is it going to go over anything particularly advanced. Alright, let's start with tornado movement. So tornadoes and players move the same way, so I'm going to use my other account to give a demonstration of this. This account is going to walk towards one of these marked diagonals, and then it's going to follow the diagonal to get to me. Tornadoes and players always follow this process to get where they're going. So those 4 tiles will mark the path that it takes to get to me. Great, so let's see this. I'll click walk here on the other account to get it to move roughly towards where I am, and you can see that it follows that exact path. Now this is going to work no matter where it stands, so I'll move the count up a little more towards that other diagonal, and once I click walk here, the same exact thing happens. So there's a couple of ways that we can abuse this, and one of the things that I like to do is, you can see these accounts, my alt account is 1 tile above me, and then significantly to the right. So because it passed towards that diagonal, it's going to move horizontal for basically its entire time. And what I'll demonstrate here is that I can actually abuse this by clicking farther to the right and up 1 to where that green tile is marked. And tornadoes don't try to intercept you. They try to just spam click walk here on top of you. And you'll notice that the effect of this is that my other account will fall in behind me. So right now, the other account starts moving, and I just walk right by it. And the same exact thing happens here, where the account just falls in behind me. And lastly, for the movement section, you can path through a tornado if it's 1 or 2 tiles away from you. If it's 3 tiles or 6 tiles, it will hit you, but otherwise you can walk straight through it. And I'll just demonstrate some of the silliness that you can do here. You can even just walk back and forth between 2 tiles and it will never hit you. Now moving on to actual boss strategies, the first thing that we're going to start by doing is the idea of centralization, aka staying as close as we can to the center to give ourselves as many options to dodge. This has the added benefit of allowing the tornadoes to move closer together, and as we'll see throughout the video, this makes it really easy to establish that situation that we looked at, where the tornadoes are 1 row above or beneath you, and that's ideal. So let's see this in action. First, as soon as I see the tornadoes pop up, I move towards the center, and then I wait until they're about to hit me. I move towards the corner, and right here, I've established that situation I want, where all the tornadoes are together, and I'm a row off of them. Now let's see this in phase 3. So the floor is currently dangerous, but as soon as the tornadoes come out, it becomes safe again. So I step into it, and by delaying that step in, now all the tornadoes are very close together, and as a result, they're extremely easy to dodge. And this is our last centralization example. So I get booted out of the middle. It's not safe for me to stay here, but I stay as close as I can, and by doing so, I give myself that extra half second, which ends up being very crucial in dodging that 1 tornado. However, it's not always easy to stay in the center, as we just saw, and sometimes you get stuck in a small area. So we should know how to deal with this. So let's talk about how to group tornadoes and how to deal with them when the center approach doesn't work best. So the clip starts, and right about here I see the tornadoes come up. And I'm in a bit of a weird spot because of the Hunlet being a little more centralized. So I make a box around where I see the tornadoes, and that puts me in a situation where they're all together, and once I'm outside of that box of death, I'm good to go. Now, identifying that is a little tricky, so these 4 frames show you exactly where I clicked, and I end up forming this little kite or parallelogram with a little exit out. And to see it at smaller speed, first it's a step back to get those 2 close together, and now I can see that there's 3 really close together. By stepping here, those 3 catch up, and I'm left just with that last one, which I end up actually moving through. And once they're all behind me, I can just move outside of that box, And I did end up misclicking a little bit and taking some damage, but these things happen. Now, there was a better way to deal with all this, but you see what you see in the time, and I'll show that over here. The best thing to do would have been to go into that box, and then eventually into the other one. But you see what you do see in the time, and there are times where you legitimately don't have a lot of room to work with for whatever reason, and when this pops up, try to make a box around the tornadoes. Split two, move towards one of the doors to split them, and then make a box around the other three, and it'll help a lot. So now let's see a similar approach here to what I just showed you. Tornadoes come up, I wait for the last second for those two to get close together, and then by waiting in this corner, I give all of them a chance to meet up, and now I have a situation that's very reminiscent to the 2-row idea that I just showed you. And this is just another example of how I make a little bit of a U-turn by waiting a little bit and then going around the tornado that was in that corner. This gives time again for all 3 of the other ones to catch up to that one and set up my little 2-row formation.
Okay, so far this video has focused on 3 broad things that I will describe as staying close to the center of the room, aka centralization, setting yourself up with those nice long rows to work with, because we know that the tornadoes will move over to your row only at the end. And the third thing has been grouping by making some sort of a box or a U. So I'll get to the boss right here, and then I'll jump in and show you guys a live kill with commentary that explains how those things come up and how you can maintain central position. But just a disclaimer, you might see a few mistakes that I normally wouldn't make. Alright, so I know a lot of newcomers like having the boss closer to a corner, but you really don't want to wait for it. So this is good enough. It's not dead in the center, which is probably the hardest if you aren't meleeing. So, again, stay close to the center. The tornadoes come out. And that's almost a worst case scenario. But it's phase 1. So I have so much room to work with. And the floor takes so long to turn dangerous that I can just run straight over it. Don't be afraid to stand in the red floor to get that hit off, because it just takes so long. You have so much time on the first phase, and even the last phase, there's basically the length of one of his attacks. So you're basically always able to get an extra hit out, as long as it doesn't get too stale. So let's set this up. We get off of the dangerous 2 rows, so we don't have to think about how close they are and running through them. And then we skirt around the outside of it, and whoa, we re-centralize, while smiting too. Alright, so this kill's going pretty fast. Phase 2 is probably the most crucial as a newcomer, because it's the one where I find people are unnecessarily losing time. So I'll move out here. And now by running to that corner, it gave all the tornadoes times to close in on each other. And now that that's happened, re-centralize, we're approaching phase 3. So you'll see me step back into the phase 3 safe spots. I will use those for basically all the free time until I see the tornadoes actually affect. So, ooh, just like 2 health away from being phase 3. That's kind of lucky. And again, I can kind of just stay in a box here, because the tornadoes are just already pre-clumped. It makes it very, very practical. Great, this one's going a little too well for live commentary. I'm a little scared of what's going to happen here. So tornado should be coming out probably in 2 hits. Oh, right now. So it was momentarily safe. I've got them all clumps. Change pairs. And one thing you might notice that I do a lot is round the corners. I didn't do it in that example, but if I'm going down a row, instead of going, say, right there, I'll go to this tile right here and stop attacking in the process. Alright, so tornadoes very soon. Center is safe. Not praying is not, so that's my priority. And then I'm just abusing these diagonals that I've made safe. Great. Now, it's more important to attack and keep your DPS up than augury actually is. So you'll notice I attacked without it for a while there, and it's not perfect, it's not ideal. Up. Congratulations to that guy, and congratulations for the 98 Trout. So hopefully you pick something out of that live kill. I know the commentary wasn't perfect, it was a little sporadic, but hopefully that showed why staying central is very powerful. Great, and hopefully your collection log, wrong thing, looks a little more like this and a little less like that. All right, well, best of luck to you guys.